Bobby Lison, and I chair the Asset Development Committee for Catholic Charities USA, and I'm filling in for Jane Stenson today because she was needed on another phone call, so she asked if I would fill in. So I said I'd be happy to do so. We're really excited that you're all here. We have three presenters. We have Deacon Jim Shanahan, who's the Director of Financial Stability Network for Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. Guadalupe Millan, Director of Microbusiness and Asset Development for Catholic Charities in Omaha. And then myself, I'm not sure why this says Roberta. I only get that when I'm bad, but the Director of Financial Health Program for Catholic Charities in Green Bay. I'm going to ask each presenter just to, right before they give their presentation, to maybe just tell you a little bit of their agency and what services they offer. So we will take questions at the end. So if you have questions, you can ask them then. We also do have a chat box. If you want to put anything in the chat box, that's fine also. So the webinar is being recorded, and the phone lines and computer speakers are being muted. And again, you can submit your questions throughout the presentation with the chat box or verbally at the end. And if we didn't get to a question, we'll certainly send you an email response. So I'll turn it over to Deacon Jim.
Well, thank you, Bobby, and good afternoon. And for our friends on the West Coast, good morning. My name is Deacon Jim Shanahan, and I serve as the Director of the Financial Stability Network at Catholic Charities here in Washington, D.C. Our program stood up about 3 years ago and was really geared towards addressing the need within our consumer base for better financial literacy. And the program consists of, sometimes we call it our three-legged stool. We've got a coaching program, we have an education program, and a VITA program, a volunteer income tax assistance program. And our VITA program, it probably was the first thing we really began when we first launched 3 years ago, and have had a very, very successful experience, slowly but surely building up that VITA program. We're based out of Catholic University's Law School here in Washington, D.C., and we projected this year to e-file over 600 tax returns. Like every other VITA site here in our region and perhaps elsewhere across the country, we were forced to close down our VITA operations. It began in early March when the university, Catholic University, prohibited all outside visitors from being on campus, and thus all the volunteers we were forced to go elsewhere. So again, for many, that was a rapid slope downward, and we eventually were forced to close our VITA program. So we scrambled real quickly because we knew, in light of the coronavirus, of the importance of getting tax refunds in the hands of many, many of our clients. And so we worked very hard with our local IRS territory manager to see if we could build a pilot. And the pilot would be creating a 100% virtual VITA program where we would be at distance from the taxpayer and amongst ourselves. And so the volunteer reviewers and preparers and our VITA site coordinator would not be in, obviously, in the same proximity. We were blessed by a number of developments. One is the IRS started using a program a couple of years ago called TaxSlayer. That program is cloud-based, so we were able to connect our VITA site coordinator, our preparers, and our reviewers in the cloud, so to speak. What was more difficult was interviewing the taxpayers, and the purpose of really my remarks here is to show how we went about building this 100% virtual VITA program. Before I continue, there have been a lot of news recently about these economic stimulus payments. The Treasury Secretary has announced that by mid-month, every single taxpayer out there will be receiving a check from the IRS. Singles will get $1,200, married filing jointlies $2,400, and there'll be an additional $500 per child. And so what the IRS has announced is that there's really no action required for those who have an IRS account, so to speak, an individual or a family who's filed a 2018 or 19 return. However, for many of our consumers, they do not have, luckily, an IRS account, so to speak, and so the IRS does not know that they even exist. And so we're expecting the government to lean heavily on VITA and other programs to be able to help these individuals. These are primarily low-income taxpayers that they could be young adults, 19 and over, who are not have not continued their education, to get information to the government, to the IRS, that would provide the IRS their filing status, the number of dependents, their bank account information to be able to get a direct deposit. So literally, this release, the IR release I had there in the slide there, just came out this week. And so we see a huge surge in demand for virtual VITA just to help many people fill out this simple informational return. Fortunately, Social Security recipients do not need to file information returns. That was clarified just yesterday. So if you could move to the next slide, please, that would be great. So the next slide is to kind of walk through how our virtual VITA program works. I know there's been a lot of questions from other agencies throughout the country as to how it would be possible to get a virtual VITA program going up in your particular community. We start with having our taxpayers, the clients, through a Google form, and they've got to have, and this is one of the limitations of the program, is our clients do need to have a smartphone, and the smartphone is necessary to do multiple things. One is to take a photograph of their tax documents and send those to us. It also requires them to fill out a Google Doc, which gives us a lot of the same information that we would get from a normal sit-down interview. The other reason our clients need a device, a smart device with a camera, is the intake specialist will interview the clients via, we're using Zoom right now, but other type of webinar software could be used as well. But we have found Zoom to be relatively easy to be used at the consumer level by the taxpayers. And what's important about using Zoom is the importance of inspecting source documents, like an identification card, for example, a driver's license. We need to inspect all Social Security cards. That's going to be very important for purposes of not only filing a 2019 return, but also to make sure that when we're filling out these informational returns, that the taxpayer has a Social Security card. Sadly, these cash payments, these economic stimulus payments, are not available for any individuals and families who do not possess a Social Security card. The income intake specialist will also, through the interview, really obtain household information on who is the taxpayer. Then after that intake, and that's probably the most critical part of the step, this information will be loaded up into TaxSlayer, which is the software that the IRS has licensed for us. And then the tax preparer, sitting in the comfort of his or her home at their convenience, will be able to complete the tax return and utilizing the telephone to ask taxpayer any questions. And then finally, when the tax preparer is done with the return, they'll be able to notify the reviewer that the return is ready for their review. Could you move to the next slide, please? At that point, then, the tax return will be emailed to the taxpayer via a password-protected PDF document. At the very outset of our relationship with our new VITA taxpayers, we will providing them a personal identification number that needs to be used whether to open up documents or if they receive a phone call from anyone from the Catholic Charities VITA site, that the caller needs to have that personal identification number in hand. Importantly, then, the tax preparer walks through the return with the taxpayer and obtains the approval to e-file that return. The returns are then e-filed by our VITA site coordinator, and really in a number of weeks, then the taxpayer will receive a refund from the IRS and a state if a state return is being filed. And by utilizing e-file versus regular mail, these tax refunds will be in our clients' bank accounts much sooner than via U.S. mail. The next slide, please. So the marketing of our program is, as I mentioned before, we were serving our clients in 3 VITA sites here throughout the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. We've now got to get the word out. We're even utilizing the IRS to get word out that we are open for business. We are focusing on simple W-2 taxpayers with Social Security cards. We're not comfortable in working with I-10 taxpayers because of the importance of inspecting those documents. And also with the W-2 taxpayers, because of the income levels that VITA, they are more likely to have a tax refund. For self-employed taxpayers who likely will owe tax unless they're making estimated tax payments along the line, as many of you know, July 15th is the new April 15th. The government thankfully pushed out July 15th for that date. The Financial Stability Network is working through parish outreach to really bring to the attention to our low-income taxpayers the importance of, who don't necessarily have any filing obligations, the importance of filing this information return with the government literally in the next few weeks to make sure that they're getting their economic stimulus cash payments. The next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, I'm running short on time here, but I wanted to include a quote here. And the quote is a quote from Nina Olson. Many of you know Nina. She recently retired last summer as being the IRS's national taxpayer advocate, and she continues to be an advocate in the private sector. And I leave this quote here as her really urging the IRS to permit more remote interview and preparation software, such as physicians are doing during this coronavirus. We're very fortunate that our IRS relationship manager approved our pilot here to get virtual VITA, but the hope is that our experience here in Washington, D.C. can be replicated in very short order elsewhere around the country. So my 15 minutes of fame are over, and what I'll do now, Bobby, is turn it over to the next presenter. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, Guadalupe.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Bobby and Deacon Jim. My name is Guadalupe Millan. I'm the director of the Microbusiness and Asset Development Program here at Catholic Charities of Omaha. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that we are all super busy currently trying to help our clients with the COVID situation. But to tell you a little bit about what we do in the program is We provide microbusiness training. We also do technical assistance and microloans up to $5,000. We've actually given over $1 million in microloans of $5,000. We also do referrals. And we also have a $1 million club. Now, I'm not going to go into super much detail about what we do because I do have a lot of information that I'm going to try to give you as much as I can in the 15 minutes. So to tell you a little bit of what's going on, it's hitting hard a lot of the business owners currently. And right now, the SBA, or the U.S. Small Business Administration, has offered the economic injury disaster loans, which is what I'm going to be, I'm going to give you a little bit of information of what that is, and then how we in the microbusiness program are assisting our clients with that. So the disaster assistance available is for all those working, it's a working capital loan to help small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, and business engaged in agriculture, and most private nonprofit organizations of all sizes to meet their ordinary and necessary financial obligations. So this is, disaster loan is available for them. Next slide, please. So some of the credit requirements that are in place is basically the applicants must have a credit history acceptable to the SBA. Repayment applicants must show the ability to repay the loan. Also, collateral is required for loans over $25,000. The SBA takes real estate as collateral when it is available. And then the SBA will not decline a loan for lack of collateral, but the SBA will require the borrower to pledge collateral that is available. Also, this information was provided to us from our local FBA. I would recommend you to check in with your state FBA office. So if you have more questions on that. In general, the interest rate is 3.7% for the small businesses. I know that for nonprofits is 2.75. Also, for the loan terms, the law authorizes loan terms for up to a maximum of 30 years with this loan. And there is a limit of the loan for up to $2 million on that. There are loan eligibility restrictions. Basically, applicants who have not complied with the terms of previous SBA loans may not be eligible. But at this time, you know, they are telling everybody to go ahead and apply. And eventually, you know, they'll let you know if you do qualify or not. From what we have seen is that first, everything is being very fluid with this information. So like last week, they had one application in place, and then over the weekend it got changed. So on Monday, we had to redo a new format. It is way, way easier though than the original one. So I'm glad that they were doing that. They are asking though that we are very patient if you're helping clients basically apply for these loans, because you know there is some crashing issues with their website, but they are trying to fix those issues. As far as the refinancing, economic injury disaster loans cannot be used to refinancing long-term debt. The insurance requirements on that, they are to protect each borrower and the agency, SBA may require you to obtain and maintain an appropriate insurance. By law, the borrowers who damage or collateral property is located in a special flood hazard will be required to maintain a flood insurance for that. Also, I have in the PowerPoint slides, you can see there is the, you can download the application, or you can, I think the easiest way to do it now would be to do it online. And then if you have any questions, there is that phone number, and then there's also that email available. And I can give you the phone number here for those that can't see the slides, 1-800-659-2955. Now, next slide, please. Okay, so with with our team, myself and I, we've realized about 2 weeks ago that we were going to have this tremendous challenge going on with all the small business owners. So we decided to basically try to see what we can do as staff within the microbusiness program. Now, as far as Catholic Charities, our teams in the Catholic Charities of Omaha have been amazing. We are so blessed to be able to work from home and still continue to help all those clients that are in need currently. Now, as far as team preparedness, again, we have to, our team is basically constantly monitoring the changes in federal, state, city, and county level for bills, acts, ordinances, or executive orders that are being filed by our state for the business community currently in the COVID-19 pandemic. I know that there's a lot of information, so it's very, very important for us to keep that information up to date so that we can provide that to our clients. Right now, we are communicating with our clients via phone calls, either Teams, Zoom, email, or WhatsApp, and using the majority of the time we're using phone calls with our clients, especially with those that are that used to be walking for us. Also, we've seen a lot of more as far as telephone calls. That's our first and main point of contact with those that were walk-ins. As I said, our team has been seeing an increase in our inbound and outbound calls, especially asking for the SBA loans or any loan assistance available. With our technical assistance, we are still supporting them. We've seen a little bit of drop in the business registrations at this moment, but we have seen an influx of people asking for other resources, again, especially for the SBA loans or other resources available. Now we have gotten, at least we have tried to get very creative to accomplish everything remotely or, in the safest and fastest way available. Resources for clients. Okay, so my team and I have been it's been a challenge to keep up with the latest resources available for the business owners, as there is so much, again, fluid information. We would be helping a client today, like with something, and then tomorrow it's changed. So that has been a little bit of challenge. And so our team is basically having that. We're just opting out to work every single day, one day at a time, making sure that we're positive and very patient in order to provide the most available resources for our clients, and again, in the fastest way. With classes, currently we are not, we have stopped our normal in-person microbusiness classes and also our Clean Academy classes, but we are focused on providing those here very soon within the next 4 to 6 weeks via either Zoom or online version of that. And with business community organizations and collaboratives, so currently, as far as like the Omaha Chamber of Commerce and Nebraska Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we're working very closely with them. Together with our program, we're doing Zoom team meetings, discussing and identifying community needs, also discussing resources to provide to the business owners. And it is very important that we provide this information in Spanish as well, or the most available languages out there. And with the Nebraska Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, they're also providing live Zoom interviews with the community leaders. And this is being done in Spanish because we have seen a little bit of lack of communication in Spanish for the business community currently. And I did an interview which was done live on Facebook last week with that, and we've received great response from that. So just being able to work with also like with other nonprofit organizations. We currently work with Enterprise Fund, SCORE, Omaha Chamber of Commerce, and VDC, Bunker Lab, Better Business Bureau, Core Bank, and ourselves, we are partnered in the Entrepreneur Education Coalition, and we have basically teamed up to bring Facebook and Zoom Live workshops with the latest information for our business owners. And this is doing very good. We have seen actually an increase of viewers this way versus when we did them in person. So we know that there's people out there looking for information and the most up-to-date information. With the Small Business Association, we have actually worked with everyone in Nebraska currently, or at least trying to work with every city in Nebraska. I know that we've recently formed the Nebraska Business and Community Coalition. This is like going super fast. Everything is going super, super fast. Again, it was formed recently because of this need. We wanted to dedicate a single point of information distribution channel, because we've gotten in touch with many community organizations that they were saying that clients were receiving different types of information, and it wasn't even related to their city. So we wanted to avoid that misinformation. For example, there's a lot of things that were happening in Omaha that were not related yet at that point for like pre-Nebraska. So this coalition is it's adding its members or its participants. We currently have, again, NES, Reef, UNL Extension, City of Crete, Catholic Charities, City of South Sioux City, Grand Island, Chamber of Commerce, South Bluff Chamber of Commerce, and then the Nebraska Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So we are working together. It's actually worked very well for us to do more of the collaboration with people. It's not that we don't do collaborations, but normally we focus on like businesses, but now we realize that we have to use every resource out there for our clients, because eventually, our business owners, might need pantry or might need, telehealth services or anything else that is available that we can provide, and many other organizations might not have. And again, providing that information to the people is the most effective way. One of the things that we have told our clients, or keep telling our clients, is right now it's very, very crucial. We understand you guys are going through a really, really hard process, and sometimes it's not even, we can't even grasp it at this moment. But one of the things we tell them right now, the most important thing is that you and your family are kept safe. So we are very, very pushing for people to do creative things, such as like restaurants doing a lot more of the delivery options, doing more creative and innovative things so that they can still try to be afloat within their business. And again, we cannot tell people enough. We want you to be safe, and that's hopefully something that we can continue to let them know. The other challenges, they're going to be happening, but we know that together as a community, especially me being with Catholic Charities, and this organization is a tremendous organization that we help so many people. I think that we can overcome so many things together, as long as we all put a little bit of our help in realizing that this is a very serious situation, and the most important thing is to be safe at this moment. So thank you so much for listening. I don't know, I think I spoke too much already. I'm going to hand the next presenter then.
Thanks, Guadalupe. Again, I'm Bobby from Catholic Charities in Green Bay, and I manage the financial health department there, which has a number of different services under that department. And my program has been in existence since 1989. So a little bit about my program. The different services that we offer are financial counseling, housing counseling, representative payee services, bankruptcy counseling, financial education, and student loan counseling. And we're a pretty small program. We have 4 counselors and 1 representative payee grant specialist. And we do all of this out of 3 different offices. Green Bay is where the diocese is, so that's kind of the larger office, and then Manitowoc and Menasha. You can turn to the next slide, please. So we kind of had a timeline of this whole COVID-19 thing, and starting back in March 11th, which it's almost been a month, I guess, we were starting to talk about COVID-19 and what that might mean for Catholic Charities and the services that we provide. And then the next day we got a letter from the diocese, from HR, saying that a member of the Curia, because we're on the diocesan campus, so a member of the Curia was possibly infected. They had been to an area, they were showing symptoms, but they couldn't get a test, but it looked like they had been infected, and so we knew that this was, going to be moving probably pretty quickly. So from March 11th and ongoing, we have always had continuous input and discussions regarding business practices. So there would always kind of be like the question of the hour. It might have started out question of the day, and it quickly moved to question of the hour, because things changed so rapidly between what was going on nationally and what was going on statewide and locally. And how would we handle this practice, and how would we handle this? And then on the 17th, it was decided that staff who had compromised family members, or they were compromised themselves, or they just didn't want to come to work, they wanted to kind of work on their own, that they could work from home, and they could establish different home routines for that. March 13th, these are a little out of order, I guess. March 13th, all face-to-face client appointments in group appointment or set in group settings were canceled. Actually, that was March 18th, sorry. So people were no longer allowed to come into Catholic Charities, and we could no longer go to do home visits. We could no longer do presentations. We could no longer teach workshops and things like that. So we needed to, we had been talking about how could we do this? How could we make this work for people? And then on, all these dates are messed up. I'm sorry for that. On Monday, so that would have been the 23rd, then all counselors were working from home, and our representative payee specialist splits hours between the office and the home. So she works 2 days at home, 2 days in the office, and then that third half day she kind of changes it up based on what's going on, what are the things she needs to accomplish. And that all came about because staffing, we could know, we had to have staffing ratios within the building. It was like 10 people or less within the building. And so that was where we went to. Next slide. And so now we have a new norm. So we were lucky in our program because all the financial health staff had laptops. And so we are able to access the diocesan IT services as well as our client management system, which is CPR. Without that, we would be dead in the water because while we do have a client management system, we also have paper files. And if we didn't have our paper files, it'd be really pretty tough to do the things that we do with clients as far as our regular appointments. We meet with clients every time they get paid or right before a payday, and we create spending plans and things like that. So it would be pretty difficult. We're also very lucky because, all of our phone lines are set up, our cell phones are set up to receive voicemails. We can receive incoming calls, and we can make outgoing calls using the diocesan phone system. So when we make a call out, it shows that it's Catholic Charities calling. It doesn't show that it's Bobby Lison. And then we can also access our voicemail. So we do that on a daily basis. And then it is a little different when your cell phone rings and you hear, you hear the message because you think it's just your phone, but it's actually the diocesan message, and people have to announce who they are. We still do have some support staff at the diocese, and so those support staff persons are setting appointments, regular ongoing appointments, new appointments, things like that, and they are confirming appointments for the counselors with the clients. Again, it's all based on the percentage as to how many people you can have coming in. So basically it's one support staff system there that's all day. Not sure how much longer that's going to go for. We're thinking it may be down to 2 weeks now. And then we will need, we will figure out a way to be able to transfer some sort of phone lines or whatever it is that we can do so that clients, when they call in, there are people still working. And all of our appointments and classes are now conducted via phone or Zoom. To be honest, most of our counseling appointments are all phone appointments, and the Zoom we really reserve for classes and workshops and things like that. Now with all the things going on over Zoom, we're asking our IT department to kind of look that over and determine if Zoom is still a good way to go for other appointments, because Catholic Charities also has 3 other service lines. They have a child welfare, immigration, and mental health counseling. Next slide, please. We decided as a program that it would be important for us to, really have continued client support, particularly amongst our representative payee clients. Before this started to happen, we were starting to get phone calls. People were worried that they weren't going to have enough food, so they all wanted all kinds of money to stock up on food, and they were pretty stressed out. And it took a little bit of digging, because sometimes we have some clients who are they have mental health issues, and they can be, very antagonistic and demanding and difficult. But when we actually talked with them, we really kind of found out that really they were just really stressed and really worried, just like all of we were. So we decided that we would begin by making weekly phone calls to those clients, and then we would, kind of determine how are they stressed, are they okay, and based on that first phone call, then we may do weekly phone calls with them, or we may move to bi-weekly calls, or maybe we would just talk to them once a month during their regular appointment. That's something that they really seem to embrace, and they're very grateful for that, because many of them are alone. So we think it's important to let them know that we are still here working for them. We've assured all of our clients that our office it's minimally staffed, but they can still call and set appointments or speak to their counselors. We will still get voicemails. We still talk to each other and, know what's going on. And so they have, complete access to us. And they're also provided with our emails. So they also know that they can email us at any time, and we'll be able to respond to those emails. Next slide. We also started to then really ramp up our social media presence. So Catholic Charities has a website, and of course each service has a tab in that website. And so we added a statement right to the home page of the website directing people to our tab, because we had a lot of we're always updating with financial tips, financial resources, all of the things that are coming down as far as the CARES program, as far as unemployment, as far as, not being able to evict renters and foreclose on homes. It changes rapidly, and we want to make sure people have that information. We also have our own Facebook page, and so again, every day we're posting new things on there, tips and resources, things like that. One of the things we wanted to do on our Facebook page is we have photos of staff working from home, so that people know that, yep, we're still working, we're still here for you. We're still doing the stuff we need to do to help you out. And recently we saw that some of the local TV stations have segments about, with mental health providers, about how to get through this whole pandemic thing, sanely. And we're gonna try to see if we can do that with financial health topics, because we believe that we're probably going to get to be very busy during this whole thing, as people don't have jobs and don't have money and income and have lots of bills and things like that. They're going to start to fall behind, or they're not going to know who to pay, that sort of thing. So that's something that we're looking at doing. And then the signage on the door messages are critical to let the clients and community know we're still working hard and able to assist. So I was on a previous webinar that Catholic Charities USA had, and I believe it was Catholic Charities in Baton Rouge. They had shared the signage that they use, and I really liked that signage, and so I stole it, and it's now on all of our doors. I think it's really important, because people just, with everything being closed, they just think everything is closed, including us, and that's not the case. So, and we've sent out emails to all of our community partners, letting them know that we're still in business. You know, still send people to us. We'll still work with them. Next slide. Staff well-being is huge. I have a really great team. I am so lucky to have the team that I have. We're really a close-knit team, and so I want to make sure that my team stays healthy, happy through this whole thing. And so we kind of have a morning check-in where, you know, we send an email that says, hey, welcome, you know, good morning, everybody, you know, have a great day. And then we always have one happy moment that we share since yesterday. So we all kind of post what was one good thing that's happened. And then I myself send out, you know, a weekly email at the end of the week to my staff to let them know how valued they are, and I really appreciate all of the work that they're doing, and how important they are. And then we've moved our team meetings from monthly to weekly, and we schedule those right now in Zoom. We communicate a lot, so we're always calling each other, emailing, texting, whatever we need to get the information we need or support that we need to provide. And we have regular communication about challenges and opportunities, both with staff and clients. As I said, some of our representative payee clients pose a lot of, they're challenging, and so I don't want my team to feel like they have to solve these things on their own. We are all here for each other, so we have regular communication in that regard. This next one is huge. My staff tend to overwork. They just work. And I think that most people are finding that when you work from home, you probably are working a whole lot more than if you go into the office. And so I'm always making sure that they are not overworking, that they are taking lunch breaks, that they are, you know, taking breaks throughout the day, that when it's time to quit, that they quit and they leave the laptop off and they move away from the laptop. And the next thing I'm looking at doing is a virtual happy hour. So I'm going to try to find a date for that, see how that works, and we'll probably do that over Zoom and just kind of relax. Next. And just the other stuff. So I kind of had it was kind of apparent that this was going to be a long haul. Our diocesan offices are closed through May 3rd. And to be honest with you, I mean, while this hasn't been said or anything, my sense is that we're probably going to be closed through May as well, based on what I'm hearing from the news. I don't know that, but that's just my own thought. So before we did close all the offices, staff members took home projects related to the areas of interest that they had identified and things they wanted to work on when we did a strategic plan last year for our program. So all those projects that, you know, we always wanted to do, but we never ever had time to do them, we took those projects home. We wanted to make sure that we had enough stuff to do, that we're making the best use of this time as we can. And then also, we're looking at some new initiatives that we may be providing down the road. And so this is the time also we're going to, you know, during some of our meetings where we're going to brainstorm for some of those ideas that we want to move forward off the drawing board. And, you know, we really kind of did prepare for the long haul, because it's really difficult for staff to go back into the office. Only so many people are allowed in at a certain time. facilities and properties goes through when people are there, and they clean those offices, and so you have to sign in if you go into a certain room or a certain office, that sort of thing. So it was important for us to have all the things we needed ahead of time. Next slide. And I just put this in here for fun. Work in pajamas day. Seriously, though, try to limit those pajama days to every other day. When you don't use Zoom and you just have your laptop and you're not having to interface with people, it's really easy to just hang out in your pajamas and work in your pajamas. But you're a lot better off if you don't do that every day. So, so that's all I have. And I guess at this time we will open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Hey, Bobby, this is Fanny. I'm just checking here the question box. And just to mention for all the attendees that we have unmute the lines. So if they want to voice questions, the only thing they need to unmute themselves, because this is a two-steps process. So I already unmute their lines. So now they have to unmute themselves and raise any question that they might have. And also I see that Jane is on the line. So I'm trying to unmute her to see if she has any question or any word for you guys.
I came on, I apologize, I had another call I had to take, but I came on about midway through Guadalupe's presentation. So I'm sure Fanny said this, but we have the PowerPoint, we can send that to everybody who registered. And I think it was recorded, correct, Fanny?
It is being recorded.
Yeah, because I want to listen to the whole thing. So if any of you would like the link to the recording, I believe you'll get it within the next, well, you'll have it by Monday. So
I just have a question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
This is Guadalupe. So if anyone is interested in receiving more information about the SBA information, I'm glad to help send that information as well. It's just quite a few and it's overwhelming. We have received some different options to where it's more like just goes directly straight to the detailed information without having to read a whole bunch of pages. So I can send that if anyone is interested as well. You can email me.
Well, actually, this is Fanny. Thank you for offering the information in that, Guadalupe. I'm just gonna take what Jane mentioned. After the webinar, we'll put together a follow-up email, which include the PowerPoint and the recording of this presentation, as well as any other resources that the presenters would like to submit, any links or documents that you think that are relevant to the work that you're doing and can support our agencies out there. You can send them to me. We will make sure to collect them and put nicely in an email that will be sent to everybody, if not Monday, at the beginning of next week. So thank you.
I have a question. So based on all of the stuff that's coming out with Zoom and that sort of thing, and those types of platforms, and especially around like the text information and even financial stuff, if we would do financial health counseling appointments with Zoom, has there been any recommendations as how to make sure that it doesn't get hacked or anything like that? I mean, or is it just too new and people haven't been able to really research that?
I can tell you, this is Guadalupe. I can tell you that we've actually had that situation arise already with the coalition, the Entrepreneurs Coalition. We've had about 2 kids hacked in while we were doing the Zoom meeting. So I do have some information about that I can share with you as well. And okay. Yeah, because it is happening, and unfortunately it is with if you don't have like a, I guess if you have to pay to have a more larger group of people, and then you'll have more security that way. Because if you do it like for free, yes, it is very, very, and it is very, likely that they'll be able to hack when you're doing these Zoom meetings.
So Jane, this is Jim Shanahan. Yeah, utilizing Zoom is a critical component of our virtual VITA program, and we've had our IT people look at it, and they believe, since we're not on a shared network or a shared public Wi-Fi, that we should be fairly secure. We also have licensed the software from Zoom. It's not expensive. It's like $15 a month. We've also, with that feature, to create more security, we've added a meeting password to the Zoom meeting. And again, our Zoom meetings are really just between our VITA intake specialists and the taxpayer. So there's only really 2 people involved versus these mass settings. And so, but we're continually looking at making sure that technology is secure, because a critical component of our program is to examine source documents. And one of those source documents is a Social Security card. And I don't want those numbers being stolen by anyone hacking into Zoom.
Good to know. Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I don't see any question in the chat question. I just want to thank you very much to the 3 of you for the excellent information that you shared during the webinar. And just since we are very close to the time that we scheduled for the phone call, I would just ask any of you to share like a final message for the audience. And then after that, we can conclude the webinar. So any final thoughts or final message to share?
I guess mine would just be to keep fighting the good fight and hang in there. This too shall pass, and we will become stronger and better because of it.
Yeah, I guess this is Jim. I guess my final message, and I shared this idea with Jane earlier, and that is that to the extent that there are any recipients of these cash payments from the IRS, if it's a complete windfall to them, I would encourage us as church, if you will, to have those checks be sent to our brothers and sisters who do not have a Social Security number. And so I hope that movement takes a foot. That would be my final thought.
That'd be great.
Yes, that would be great. This is Guadalupe. Again, I just pray that we are all safe. All those listeners right now, that you keep yourself safe, and we're gonna get through this. We just have to keep every single day being positive and thankful to our God that we are we're still alive, and we still can accomplish things, and even though it's super challenging right now, but eventually we'll be good. Thank you so much.
Well, with that positive note, we will conclude this webinar. Thank you very much to all of you for participating, and thank you to the presenters for that excellent sharing of information. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.